companies like Simon's Department Store. Have you heard this story? Oh, you're going to love this. So they've taken it down since, obviously, but think of like the Bay. It's a Canadian department store. They carry everything. They're from Quebec, which tracks. And they decided to use MAID as one of their commercials. So they had a female who was going to be ending her life. And they decided to put her on a beach with all of their home goods, with bubbles all around, talking about how she was so excited to go end her life while she was surrounded by these waves and these cliffs and these beautiful home goods, selling the home goods under the eyes of MAID is an acceptable, beautiful, welcomed thing, and I can't wait. What? Younger, impressionable people are going to be seeing that, and it's the subliminal messaging. It's the couple touch points. And so that was disgusting to me. How can a department store use assisted suicide as a way to make an ad that's going to be seen by very impressionable people across the country?
Canada can't advertise pharmaceuticals, correct?
We can't, but because a lot of people's TV overlaps with American TV, we see them anyway.
Oh, so you'll get our advertisements?
Yeah, so I don't have TV. We have Netflix. We have Netflix or we have Amazon. So I don't see any commercials anymore. But when we come to America and I turn the TV on, it's jarring.
Yeah, it's weird because I believe it's the U.S. and New Zealand, and we're the only two in the world that are allowed to have pharmaceutical ads. And that seems, I mean, do you know who Joe Dispenza is?
Yes.
So he gets into kind of like the quantum physics and also like the subconscious psychology behind these ads and how really dark and insidious it is. And it's down from, you know, you want to be able to kind of put yourself in a situation, and that's when you become extremely malleable and like easily influenced. So they get you with the dark music, they make you feel very visceral, then they'll show a really violent, gnarly disease, and it just gets you on every basic human instinct. And all of a sudden you're calling your doctor, and then you have this illness, and you start being a hypochondriac, whatever. You end up buying the thing that they're trying to sell. So if you have a country like Canada that says you're not allowed to advertise pharmaceuticals because it's just not ethical, how do you advertise a suicide? It's not a pod. I don't think they're doing the pods yet, but it's like still a package.
They were talking about you can walk in and ask your doctor about it. It's no different. Yeah. So we've had so here's what's really wild. I've kind of now gotten to the place where in Canada people just start to send me all their cases and their stuff to talk about because they're like, no one else is really discussing it other than Rebel. And the issue with that is it's heavy, and I'm happy to do it. I'm okay to do it, and I'm happy to take that on, but it's heavy. And what I will say is you start to realize how many people have been killed in really dicey ways, and to the point in which family members weren't told and nurse practitioners were doing it, and now they're discussing making it optional to not do it in a home or in a hospital. You can go to a park and they'll kill you there. Like it's
in a park?
Yeah.
It's a public space.
Yeah, but it's with the medical professional, and it's just so... The conversation is getting really dark, really, really, really fast. And the suicide pods are one thing, but even then, I think that's devoid of empathy and emotion. Putting somebody in a pod and saying, we're going to ask you 3 questions and then we're going to gas you to death. Like that to me, that pod scares the living hell out of me. And I think when people are going to pass and doctors are going to enact that in a palliative care setting, other family members should be around them. They should be held. People should be holding their hands. People should be praying for them. People should be in the rooms. Like I get emotional. I really am not okay with this. And this is not like a clickbait, let's talk about it. This is my life. And this is something I'm fighting so hard against because my son is young. And what happens when he gets upset one day and the wrong person says to him, just, you know what? It's so much better when you die anyway.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely very afraid for Canadians, and I'm more afraid that people don't know it's happening and they're impressionable. And I don't have another choice but to yell about it because our legislation, they have a committee that is looking at MAID. These people have come through and talked to every physician, and almost every single major physician that runs their province has come forward and said, we are not ready for this. Canada is not ready for this. That's not the answer that it should be. The answer should be, No country is ever ready to allow people down to the age of 12 who are perfectly healthy. You took an oath, a Hippocratic oath as a doctor, to say that you'll do no harm and that you will always try to heal people. You know that depression is healable. We know that it's a gut health issue. We know that it's a brain injury. We know that it's a chemical imbalance. So how could you ever say to someone, you will never heal from this? That's just not fact. We understand there are a ton of people in North America that have a genetic component that causes them to feel more manic, bipolar, schizophrenic. We understand that comes from food we eat, the lack of movement, the lack of water and sunlight. We're humans, yet we treat ourselves like we're robots, and we wonder why we feel disconnected and unhealthy and sad. We need to go way back to where it worked, closer to the earth, closer to the sun, closer to others, hugging people. Like when I hugged you yesterday, you hugged me. I was like, no, I'm not done. I'm so sorry. I am hugging people. Once you hit 10 seconds, you get a release, right? You get the oxytocin, the dopamine.
But that feels like an uncomfortable amount of time, doesn't
It's only
it?
an uncomfortable amount of time for people who are not comfortable being around other people. I had a hug the other day at a retreat. It was a 4-minute hug. That's a long period of time.
I don't know if I've ever done that in my life.
Right? But it was actually one, I encourage people to just try it once in their life. It's really beautiful, and it really makes you feel connected to another soul. And I think that's the difference, is we're so disconnected. We're so obviously disconnected on a continuous basis that we don't have the right empathy. We have the taught empathy, but we don't have the feeling of empathy. They're very different in my opinion.